And that's how COPS works across the country. Whenever there's a line of duty death, there's a chapter somewhere near there. If it's not in that state, it's within a state or so that will respond, and it'll be other survivors and law enforcement officers that are part of COPS that will help that agency and that new family get through what they're experiencing.
Coming to us all the way from Missouri, I am very excited to host Dianne, who is the Executive Director of Concerns of Police Survivors, also former law enforcement. For those of you who are watching this series for the first time, the way that it rolls is that we have what's become sort of the iconic whiskey wall, where we invite veterans, emergency responders, active and retired from all over the country. They come out here. Many of them will bring a bottle of whiskey, talk about a good day on the job, a lousy day on the job, and then we actually put their names on the bottle and the bottle on the wall. But today, instead of whiskey, we have swag. So why don't we just dive in? Dianne, why don't you talk a little bit about your story and how you fell into the role of Concerns of Police Survivors?
Well, thanks, Kyle. I appreciate you having me here. I had no idea this was going to be such a beautiful venue to do this in. I didn't know exactly it was going to be in a bar, but at the end of the day, it's all about first responders and supporting them and the families, and that's exactly what our organization does. So I'm here because I lost a good friend in the line of duty in 2005. She was on a traffic stop, and she stopped a guy for, a fairly routine stop. Not that we say routine, but it was fairly routine stop for speeding, and he got out of the car and fired on her immediately. She really didn't have a chance, and she was 26 years old, and she was, she was the wife of one of our other officers. She was a good friend to many of us, and she was the stepmom for two little boys that have since grown up to be amazing young men, but she's dearly missed, and I learned about COPS because of what happened to her.
So having that law enforcement background, what did that do to you mentally to lose somebody like that? And how did that sort of put you on the path that you're on now?
I think, and we were in Columbia, Missouri Police Department, and we had never had a line of duty death before. We really didn't think that would ever happen at our agency. I'd say we lost our innocence that day. I think the job became very real. We lost somebody that we cared deeply about. She was just an amazing young lady, and just beautiful, and she was 26, but she looked like she was 20 years old, and just amazing. But we all lost our innocence that day. We realized that it could happen in rural Missouri, when we never thought that could happen that way before.
What was the grieving process like? Not so much for the family, but for the other officers, for her friends, for the lives that she touched?
It was really tough. She was shot on January 10th, and she was in really bad medical shape for about 30 days, and we knew pretty early on that her outcome wasn't going to be great. But we all watched for 30 days while it unfolded in front of us. We'd have updates on the shift meeting whiteboard of how Molly was doing that day, and it just feels like it was a slow motion event that was, it's definitely life-changing. It was just this slow motion event that didn't seem like it was ever going to end positively or negatively. We were stuck for a long period of time, and then when she did die on February 10th, I think the reality of it all set in. It settled in, and we realized that we were going to be burying one of our own. That was really tough.
It's also in that moment across the country, and this plays out day in and day out, that Concerns of Police Survivors steps in.
Absolutely.
Talk to me about what that process is like and what the mission of the organization is.
So when Molly was killed, we would have done anything for her family. I mean, she had a mom and dad that none of us knew. We know very well now, but didn't know then. She had her husband that was there in the agency. We would have done anything to support them, but we didn't know what to do. But this organization called COPS came in, and they did know what to do. They brought Molly's parents to the first parents retreat, where they got to meet other parents of officers who were killed in the line of duty. They arranged all the transportation and all the events during National Police Week for the survivors. We didn't know what to do for that, and for us, we didn't know what to do for that. The organization was amazing. It kind of just wrapped us all up, and we became a part of it. It's the organization you don't want to join, but once you're there, you're so glad you have it. And that's how COPS works across the country. Whenever there's a line of duty death, there's a chapter somewhere near there. If it's not in that state, it's within a state or so that will respond, and it'll be other survivors and law enforcement officers that are part of COPS that will help that agency and that new family get through what they're experiencing.
We spent a couple of days at the, you guys put on a conference every November.
We do.
And the mission of the conference is what?
The conference is totally focused on law enforcement officer wellness and surviving trauma. You know, getting through that 20, 30-year career, hopefully married to the same person, hopefully with not a bad habit that you have to kick later on in life. You know, you can happily retire and have those retirement years. But there's a lot that happens in your career. I mean, I just talked about it with Molly, but there was many other things that happened during my career that makes it a challenge to retire and go on. So that conference focuses on dealing with those things as they happen, or, you know, as you deal with it, you're able to adapt and have a more normal life. And that's the whole goal of the conference, is to help officers get through that whole career.
So we were blessed to spend a couple days interviewing many of the survivors. We had people talk about everything from being a surviving spouse to having their father killed in the line of duty, to having a coworker killed in the line of duty. And the one thing that was really impressive to me was that every single individual, and I think we had, 32, 33 interviews, every single person said that the reason why they're thriving today is because of the work that cops did in their life and the impact that they had. Talk to me a little bit about some of the different programs that COPS offers, because you guys do a lot. It's not just, hey, we're going to give you some words of support or anything like that. This is a multifaceted 501c3 that is touching a lot of lives in a lot of different ways. Yeah,
so there's so many different things that COPS does, and I probably can't give you them all here, but you know, one of the things I'd want to talk about is the hands-on programs that we do, which is the retreats that we do for every different survivor type, from the small kids, you know, ages 6 to 14, go to a kids camp every year. We have a spouses retreat. We have something for parents. Some of those survivor groups that are often forgotten, the siblings and you know, the adult children, those groups, we come in and we support them, because when you put them together, it's just like peer support in a law enforcement agency. When you put them together with somebody else that really gets it, they, for whatever magical reason, they start to feel better. So that's a big part of what we do, is the programs that we do for them. We also offer scholarships for kids and spouses. So you know, if they lose a parent and lose some of that financial support, they're able to go ahead and get that education. We do a lot of planning for National Police Week, make sure that family is there and get to see their officer be honored in Washington, D.C. Our chapters at a local level will help through state memorials and all the endless memorials that happen after an officer is killed. We help them through that process. There's a lot of training that we do for law enforcement on how to respond to a line of duty death. We hope that by teaching officers on the front end before it happens, and we hope that it never happens. We hope they never use our training. But if we teach them on the front end, that hopefully that experience can go as well as it can for the coworkers and the family, so they can get the support they need, and they won't be like us when we had our line of duty death and we had no idea what to do.
Dianne, all across the country over the years, I've seen from organizations to individuals support concerns of police survivors. I've seen big companies make donations,
absolutely.
But I've also seen kids donate their birthdays. People who want to help but don't necessarily know how. How can they get involved?
You know, it's amazing. I hand signed every thank you note that goes out of COPS of anybody that donates from $5 to, you know, $100,000. But it's amazing to see the different stories of the why behind why they chose COPS. Some of the stories of the kids that, you know, will set up a lemonade stand and then take that money that they made and donate it to COPS because they want to show that they support their police. Those stories are just, they're rampant. They're all through the country. You know, you see on the media today that law enforcement's not necessarily supported, but I can tell you 100% that the law enforcement is supported by the vast majority of people, and those kids just want those police officers to know that they're heroes, you know, and so they do things like that. They use Facebook fundraisers. They do, some of them run with flags. You know, we've seen different things. They make bears for surviving kids. It's amazing what one kid will do for another one when they know they're going through a tragedy.
Shameless plug time. How can people learn more? How can people donate? How can people go buy some of your swag?
Yeah, sure. Well, you can go to concernsofpolicesurvivors.org and donate on the website. You know, Facebook has a fundraiser that you can do. Copshop.com has all kinds of cool merchandise that has Thin Blue Line. Everything that you can think of Thin Blue Line is on that shop, and we appreciate anybody's support.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming out.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
For
Thank
the
you.
work that you guys are doing in the community.
I'll have to bring back the whiskey bottle, I'm afraid.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Maybe we could have someone make like a custom Cops whiskey and donate all the proceeds to that.
That would be awesome.
Guys, thanks for hitting the share button on this video. Thanks for watching. God bless America.